Many of you will know I'm the director of the Academic Integrity Office, which is one of the resource units within the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. And we are delighted to offer this session today on artificial intelligence and academic integrity and assessments and all of those things. Where am I standing? Here? Okay. So the beauty of hybrid workshops, right? But we're figuring it out. Anyway, so I want to give a particular shout out to my colleague Alison, who's going to lead this session today. Alison has been working on this particular topic for about a year or so now, and I dare say that she knows as much about this as anybody at the university, and perhaps, well, I think she's shaking her head, but you really, really do. So a couple of things. Alison has been leading the way on this over the past year. She's conducted some research in the field of academic integrity, and artificial intelligence is a fantastic resource for all of us here at the university. One of the other things she has done, and I really encourage you to participate, is Alison has set up a community of practice. It's an organizational shell that is being hosted on D2L. So I really very, very strongly encourage you to sign up for that. And I believe there'll be opportunity to do that before we leave today. So just a couple of quick thanks as well to some of our center colleagues, Michelle and Jenny and Sally. Sorry, I need a cup of coffee. It's that time of the afternoon. And Sally, thanks. I know, right? Thanks to the three of you for being here as well as Kasia, who are going to be helping to moderate some of the discussion online. So with that, I think I will pass it back over to Alison and we'll get going.
Thank you very much, John Paul. So my big caveat, I do feel pretty comfortable with this technology. I've played with it quite a bit, but I'm not a computer scientist, and nobody that's supporting us today for this workshop is a computer scientist. So I am always welcome to be corrected, but I think I've spent a fair bit of time trying to just grapple with the technology itself and make sense of what it's actually doing and what it's not doing. So for our presentation, I'd asked everybody, well, we'll do a quick round of introductions first. So I'm an academic integrity specialist, and you've heard more than enough about me already. Kasia's here. Do you want to say anything or just wave? Okay, so anyway, Kasia's here. And do you want to say anything or you're just good? Okay. And Sally from the center, thank you so much. And Jenny from the center. And I thought I already did that. And then Michelle from the center. So a great team of people all here passionate about learning and teaching. So for me, where I'm coming from, I'm actually pretty excited about it. I think it's kind of fascinating. And I say this as somebody who, my background is English literature. I'm very passionate about language and about learning. And so while I recognize that this technology kind of presents challenges, it's also like full of opportunities. So it's cool. I'm going to start off just by kind of going over some terminology, because I think we need to understand that to kind of engage in the conversation. I'm going to try to explain large language models, which is what ChatGPT really is. Well, ChatGPT is an app built on a large language model. We're going to look at some of the apps and what they're doing. Then we're going to have some Q&A, open discussion between everyone. And then we're going to actually get down to work together in roundtables to look at assessment design and how we can actually modify it in the face of this new technology, or at least the kind of widely accessible level of this technology. So in terms of clarifying terminology, okay. OpenAI is the company that built GPT-3. It was originally an open source company. It was largely invested in, that shifted when Microsoft kind of got involved. GPT-3 was actually released, I think, in 2020. It just kind of hit the media waves though in November of 2022 when they made ChatGPT available to everybody. And they made it free for the time being. So GPT-3 is a large language model. And I'm like, I've read about what exactly this is so many times, and I still have a hard time articulating it. So here's my use case, one of several, of how you can use large language models. I asked it, define large language model. And it said a large language model is a type of artificial intelligence system that uses deep learning to learn the structure of large amounts of text. It can then generate new text that is similar in style and structure to the original text. So the important thing to note in this is it doesn't say anything about GPT-3 thinking or reasoning or coming to conclusions. It just says it generates text, okay? ChatGPT is one app. This particular app was built by OpenAI, the company, on that kind of infrastructure of GPT-3. The reason why I say that is because a lot of people are referring specifically to GPT-3 or to ChatGPT, I'm sorry, because everybody's heard about it and everybody had free access to it. But it's a mistake to use that app as a way of evaluating what exactly this technology is doing, because that's just one app of many. So what does ChatGPT know? I asked it what the day was, what date is today? And it told me today's date is April 24th. And you'll see on my screen, I have circled on there that it was actually, what day is that? I have to move this thing out of the way. It was actually January 17th, 2023. I asked it what time it was currently in Missouri, and it said 9:24 Central Standard, and it would have been actually been 7:59 a.m. Central Standard Time. So ChatGPT doesn't know the time. Why not? And this is actually a question. Why doesn't it know? No. Right. So this is the common response, and it makes perfect sense. The data set that GPT-3 was built on is from 2021. So it makes sense, right? That it would only be able to reference. But that's where you get into this cognitive problem, because it has nothing to do with the data set. It's because what ChatGPT is doing is just predicting a response. It's predicting language. It has nothing to do with reasoning. It has nothing to do even with facts. It's predicting the relationship between words. And this is a fundamental difference in the way we think about language and knowledge and those kinds of things. So here. The data set, what's different about GPT-3 from other large language models is not the technology itself, but the size of it. So it is exponentially larger than any models we've seen in the past. So it was trained on 170 billion parameters, exponentially larger than any other. You can see the outline of kind of where that data came from for the current data set for GPT-3. Common crawl, that just means just crawling websites, right? General websites. Web text 2, I'm not sure what that one is. I couldn't find information on it. Books 1 and books 2 are data sets that are open source books. I had to do a lot of digging to find that. They don't make this very transparent in terms of what they trained it on. And then Wikipedia. So it says quantity of tokens, 3 billion. That's basically, and I did some research on this, every word on Wikipedia, just for scale. So a token, just for reference anyways, is about 3/4 of a word. So you can do the math on that. It's a lot of text. Here's another use case of OpenAI. Yes. So I think it's a bit more complicated than that. Sure. Oh, the question was, are parameters and tokens the same thing? I think that at one point I thought that they were, and maybe they are, but there's more, it's much more complicated than just those words. There's layers, there's a whole structural model to these language models where it includes like layers and all the stuff that I honestly don't understand. So I don't want to mislead you in my response to that. Another use case for OpenAI. I put in here, provide an API citation for the blog post where I was getting that table from, because I need to cite it, right? I'm from the Academic Integrity Office. So that table came from a blog called GPT-3, All You Need to Know About AI Language Model, written by this person at that URL for a company named that. And it provided me with the APA citation. Notice though that what I'm doing with this prompt is giving it all the information it needs. I can't just say, provide us the APA citation for this website. It doesn't work that way. You have to actually feed it the parameters. So kind of thinking about what it does and doesn't do. Let me get back to sharing my, to the right thing here. Yeah, okay. So GPT-3 does not search the internet. It's not connected to the internet. And everybody's heard that, right? They've heard that. But the thing is, that doesn't mean that people aren't using GPT-3, that language model, to process information from the internet. So ChatGPT is an app built on that language model, right? And when you type, you're just interacting with GPT-3. That's all. When you're in ChatGPT. Yes. John Paul asked if people are confusing what ChatGPT does with what Google does, what a Google search engine does, or the like. And the answer is yeah, that's exactly the problem. People are confusing that. My last slide in the slide deck is about the fundamental cognitive shift we need to make in terms of our understanding of the internet. Right now, you search in Google. Google doesn't give you the answer, typically. It gives you where you can find the answer, and then you go sort it out, right? And now people are going to ChatGPT, and they're typing in a question, and it's spitting out something that looks very much like an answer. But it's not looking up anything. It's predicting language based on the prompt that you provided it, right? So if we understand language as something that always conveys meaning, and we understand that it's something that is a product of reason, now we have a tool that creates language that has meaning that does not reason. So this is a big shift. So when I say it doesn't search the internet, people are creating apps with this technology that takes text from the internet, feeds it into the OpenAI, and then gets back, whatever processing it does. So it does not necessarily understand language. What it understands is the relationship between language, which is not exactly the same thing. Does not provide answers, but it predicts language based on the prompts that you provide. It has limitations in size, so people are thinking, well, I'll just make really long assignments and the students can only generate small bits. And that's true. It does only accept a limited amount and output a limited amount. But there are people who have already built apps that break those long texts up into chunks that are summarized and then added to, and those chunks put together and summarized consecutively until you've got a full text summary like that. And then a lot of people say it doesn't have data after 2021. That's correct. The data set it was trained on is currently anyways 2021. But that doesn't mean that information from today can't be passed through it to be processed. I've put questions into ChatGPT and OpenAI and other apps where I got information that is functionally accurate. I guess what I'm trying to get people to wrap their heads around, though, is that the accuracy is not a product of reason. It's a product of prediction. Where am I seeing this in the wild? Use cases, you name it, everywhere. So people are building, it's actually super easy to build apps on this. I can do it, and I'm not a computer technologist. I just go on there and tell them what kind of app I want, and it basically builds it for me. So one of the ones I saw was a video keyword search that returns a timestamp. For any of you who hate getting YouTube video results when they're trying to find specific information, this is brilliant. Tells you exactly where the information is that you need. Video summarizer, again, not a fan of videos, so I like that. Computer coding assistant, the airwaves are alive with people using this to kind of improve the efficiency of their coding, which isn't to say that it's doing all the work for them, but all those cases where you have like specific bits of information that you don't have memorized and you're just grabbing it from different places in your own warehouse of knowledge, it's quicker to do it this way. So it's saving a lot of time that way. You can use it to encode research. So if you've got qualitative data and you need to kind of quantify it and encode it, you can use the tool to do that for you. I saw one young person, I'm assuming young, but maybe this is wrong, who got in a fight with their girlfriend and was about to blow up the whole relationship, and then asked ChatGPT what they should do. And ChatGPT gave them some relationship advice, and they're all happy and together now. They have Whisper AI, part of the same language model that translates audio to text. We've got audio to video. We've got a bunch of professors on Reddit talking about using this to write reference letters for their students, and other professors on Reddit morally outraged that the professors are writing reference letters for their students using this technology. So it's everywhere. So we have way too many things to talk about in a very short period of time. There's a bunch of different apps out there that are doing interesting things. And this is why I wanted to complicate that idea of ChatGPT just being one. So one app is, let's see if this will share for you guys. Yeah, this is called Perplexity. And somebody give me a topical news story. Let's see. Pardon me? No, that's not a news story. We're looking for current events here. Okay. I'm not sure how that'll do here because this is probably a US app, but we'll give it a try. So this is an app that actually taps into news stories that are current and processes the information on those news stories and feeds you the synthesized version. There's the condensed one, and then there's the more detailed one. You can see that it actually provides citations. That's real-time generation of the text. Super useful, actually, if you're just trying to wrap your head around some kind of current event that's happening you don't know. So that's one. Another interesting one is tutorai.me. So give me a subject that you want to learn about. What is it? What is that? All right. All right, porters, tell me if I'm. Okay, so what this tool does is in real time generates learning modules on a number of different areas that it's kind of broken out. So you can see that the modules that they've provided are introduction, the 5 forces, applying it, and the impact, right? If you open any one of those modules, the module is, sorry guys. Try not to look at my email, please. The modules will probably be different this time because it's generated in the moment. So here's the first module. Notice that there are 5 components to it for the first lesson. And I will say that my experimentation with this shows that there is a fair bit of repetition in the text. And I only actually looked at it to try to learn things I don't know. So I haven't tested the accuracy of it. But you'll see the delay because this is real-time generation of content. So this is not something that's just pulling from a database. That's the introduction. Down below, you'll see that you can ask for examples. Oh, she's gonna have to put it through her paces on her own. Yeah. John Paul asked if it was accurate. So it provides some examples. There's a quiz feature where you can ask a quiz question. You can ask a question about the text. So here's test your knowledge. And it fleshes it out for all the different, there's a bunch of lessons for each module, and this is real time. So that's one other kind of example. And I do want to move to the kind of Q&A and the working session, but I want to show you, let's see, one more, and to just briefly talk about detection and stuff. So consensus is the one that I just learned about. So research area, research question. Put it in the chat. Let's get some participation from the chat people. Research question. Anything, anybody? Okay, great. I can work with that. If I can spell it. Of measles, efficacy of measles vaccine. Okay, so this is from Jane. And I'm not sure, Jane, if you're expert on this topic or not. You can see that this basically pulls out kind of text that seems like it's relevant from various research articles. And these are really research articles. They're not fake like in ChatGPT. If you click on that one of the articles, then it gives you the actual abstract from the article and then a link to the full text of the article. Interesting, right? There's nothing fundamentally wrong with doing something like this, except that it hasn't been really tested for how good the results are, right? Well, that's what I'm saying. So like what it's functionally doing is interesting. Is it like doing it to the degree that you want it to be effective? I'm not sure, but so that's another one. Now, detection. Everybody's heard quite a bit about detection. GPT-0 was actually developed by a Toronto person that we lost to Princeton. And it's one model. So what's unique about GPT-0 compared to the other detectors out there is that it's actually built on GPT-3, not the previous generation, which was GPT-2. So the other ones that you've heard about, if you've heard about them, are based on an older language model that was quite a bit smaller than the one that we have now. GPT-3, you just basically, or GPT-0, you just paste text into it. I like the moral tagline: humans deserve to know the truth. Also fundamentally questionable whether it's true just because we wrote it. Anyway, you just paste text in there and it gives you an evaluation of that text. And it's interesting what it has to say. But I have heard many people say that, it's inaccurate. Sometimes it detects correctly, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it reads something that a human wrote and thinks it was written by AI. So these kinds of things are just there. I don't want to dismiss them because there's value in them, but I want you to weigh their value very carefully. So let's get back here. Instead, you can look at these, and I do encourage you to look at them, but don't make decisions based on them. Instead, we've got tools to help you kind of get through it. If you're concerned that something was written by a third party, doesn't matter if it's a human or a robot. You can ask the student questions about their assessment. And again, this is not going to be definitive, but it will help you make a decision that makes sense, right? Ask them about their knowledge of the concepts, their ability to articulate. There's a vast disparity between what they've written and their ability to articulate their ideas. Maybe that means something. Not always, but sometimes. So this document you'll get the slide deck for this and you can look at it more closely. Talk to your students. So be really, really clear with them. talk about the value of actually completing the assignment. So we're not just doing this for grades. Students learn through the act of completing assessments. So talk about that value. Help students explore and understand what would be ethical versus unethical use of these kinds of technologies, because there are valid use cases for it, right? That are harmless. Work with students to critically evaluate how these technologies support and or undermine their learning. It's out there, they know about it, so we need to help them kind of navigate it. Finally, and I think this is actually kind of a long time coming, we're recommending that you identify the specific course context, the academic integrity context for your course. You've always been doing this, but like if you use something like this that's in every classroom, they realize that context matters, right? In one course, it's going to be appropriate to do certain things where it's not appropriate in another. Really common for computer science students to be able to go on Stack Overflow and look for answers to questions. Really common. In another course, that's going to be absolutely inappropriate. So start identifying those specific expectations for your course. Yeah, John Paul was saying another really common example is that from one faculty, one course to the next, some people really promote students sharing work with each other and getting feedback from each other, and others don't want any sharing going on. So just kind of really outlining what those expectations are for your students can be helpful. And then you can update the syllabus. So this is an example that Sally sent me from journalism. Oh, from you. The chain of attribution goes back to Reddit, guys, and ChatGPT, which of course, it all makes sense now. So you can modify your syllabus to whatever makes sense for you for your course. This is one example, and you'll have the slide deck and you can kind of think about what you want to do with it. In the slide deck too are a bunch of resources, some articles and stuff. Some of them came from the center's team, some of them are from my own reading, and there's lots more. So I encourage you to check them out. Thank you so much, I appreciate it. Thanks everyone.
Thanks a bunch, Allison and colleagues.
Absolutely. Thank you.